My name is Caroline Wainwright. I'm a Research Fellow at the Grantham Institute doing research into African climate and climate change. So most of my research is around looking at African climate, particularly looking at the seasonal cycle. So over most parts of Africa, we have really well-defined seasons with wet and dry seasons throughout the year, and most of the annual rainfall occurs during the wet season. And this creates a number of challenges for agriculture, for hydropower, and for health. And therefore it's really important to understand the seasonal cycle of rainfall, how it varies, how it might change under future climate change, and how we can best forecast it. So the seasonal cycle of rainfall has really big impacts for a number of different aspects of people's lives. It has a big impact on agriculture, particularly around planting. You need to plant around the beginning of the season and harvest around the end of the season to make sure that the crops get the right amounts of water. It's important for health. Malarial mosquitoes occur a lot more during the wet season than the dry season, so seasonal chemo prevention needs to occur before the wet season. It's also important for hydropower. Dams mostly get recharged during the wet season, so therefore dam levels need to be really low before the wet season and really high, almost full at the end of the wet season. So we're seeing more and more variability in terms of rainfall over Africa. We're seeing some years the seasons start very late, some years it starts very early. We're seeing longer dry periods and we're seeing more intense rainfall and more extreme rainfall. And we'll continue to see these changes into the future, this increasing variability. More rainfall on the most intense events and more extreme rainfall, but also longer dry periods and more variability. It's really important that farmers and people on the ground know what to expect. They know whether to expect a late onset or an early onset. They know whether to expect a wetter season or a drier season, so they can adapt their agricultural strategies appropriately. They can plant drought-resistant crops in a drought-prone year. They can plant later if the onset's going to be later, and they can really adapt their farming practices. I'm really optimistic for the future. I think we've got a lot of the technology that we need and we've got a lot of the solutions that we need to deal with this challenge. On top of that, the younger generation are really passionate about it, they're really well informed and they're really excited to deal with this challenge. We need to put climate as our #1 priority. When making planning decisions for the future, we need to think about climate first. We need to use the technology that's available in order to make sure that in everything we do, we're thinking about climate and we're thinking about how to minimise our risk and our impact on the climate system.